everyone. This video is about how to get a literary agent, and I'll be using a few examples of how I got mine. So the number one question you may be asking is, do I really need a literary agent? And the answer, pretty resoundingly, is yes. If you want to be traditionally published as opposed to self-published, you really do need a literary agent because they will be invaluable champions in your corner. It's nearly impossible to break into a big traditional publishing house without an agent. So the first thing you should do is make sure your book is finished. And I know this seems really obvious, but a few friends of mine have done this, and they submit the first few chapters, which are fantastic, and then the agent comes back the next day, noting how fantastic the chapters are, and they want to see the whole thing. But, oops, the whole thing isn't there, and the agent moves on because it's a waste of their time. So don't let this happen to you. Finish your book. Make sure it's polished. Show it to your friends, get their feedback, redraft it, edit it again. Sometimes you only get one shot at this and you don't want to waste it. I am so happy that I didn't submit the first draft of my novel, actually the first 3 drafts of my novel to my agent, because I would have gotten nowhere. So take it from someone like John Green, who throws away about 90% of his first drafts. It's often a good idea to take like a week, maybe even a month, and not look at your book and then come back to it. And I think you'll really thank yourself for doing that. So if you have completed your book, congratulations. Honestly, you should be really proud of that in and of itself, because it's something that the majority of people will never do. The second step is to do your research. I write in the young adult genre, so I was looking for agents who represented young adult and were looking for contemporary love stories in particular. So ultimately, you want to find the best fit for you. Some good questions to ask are, who represents the books that I like to read? So in the acknowledgement section of every book, an author will probably thank their agent, and that's a really good place to begin. Another question is, have you seen an agent speak at a conference lately and thought, hey, it seems like they're looking for a book that's just like mine? That's also a really good place to start. When I was preparing to go on submission, I was already working as an editorial assistant at a publishing house, so I already had a good idea about who I wanted to approach, but a lot of the people recommended the Writers and Artists Yearbook to me, which is a really fantastic resource because it lists all of the reputable agents and who you can submit to. Look the agents up online. They should have online profiles through their agency's website, but they'll also probably be on Twitter. If your prospective agent doesn't have an online presence, generally speaking, this should be a red flag for you. So once you've done all that, you should create a short list of agents you want to approach based on what they represent and if they're accepting submissions. And I actually was like a huge nerd about it and made a spreadsheet that was color-coded, but you probably don't need to get that intense about it. So then just follow the agent's submissions policies to a T. If they just want the query letter, send them just the query letter. If they want a letter in the first 10 pages, paste it into the body of an email. Don't send them an attachment. A literary agent could get 100 or more submissions a week, and they don't want to have to wade through a lot of unnecessary information. I don't think it's a good idea to approach more than 10 agents at a time, and here's why. So even if you think your covering letter is perfect, if you send it out to your, say, like top 30 agents and everyone comes back with a no, then you're kind of stuck. So always give yourself the opportunity to revise and have another go at it. As a side note, I think it's totally okay to follow agents on Twitter, and I think it pretty appropriately shows your interest. You know, if they're looking at your work and they want to look at you on Twitter, if you're already following them, then it does really show that you're kind of in the game. But don't pester them. Don't constantly tweet at them. Don't make them think you're kind of a creepy or annoying person, because they won't want to work with you. Another tip, is send a dry run email to yourself to see how your covering letter appears. So sometimes if you copy and paste from Word into Google Mail, funky things happen. Font changes colors and sizes, and again, you may look like a crazy person. So after you've submitted, you will actually become a bit of a crazy person. And don't worry, I think that that's completely normal. I refresh my email once about every 3 minutes, sometimes more than that. Every time I got a message in my inbox, it felt like my heart had just lurched out and landed somewhere near my toes. But again, this happens. So you will get rejections, and don't be disheartened when you get rejections, because it happens to everyone. I got rejections. All of my writer friends have gotten rejections. And when you get your first one, it really, really sucks. But also congratulations, because you're in a club now. And I think that rejection, honestly, it's just part of being a writer. So I got a few rejections right away, but luckily I also got a bunch of full requests, and 5 of those led to offers. So some agents will want to meet you in person if that's an option, and some will call you on the phone. So every agent is different, and again, you have to find what type of relationship works for you. And don't worry if you don't get an agent with your first book, even if it's a perfectly good book. This happens a lot, like more than you think. And if you believe in your writing, don't give up. I hope that that's at least a bit helpful, and good luck to everyone.